Close the doors of your mind. Close the gates of your mind. Close the gates of your palace, your ba'ith, your ahal, your ohel, your tent, your mishkan, your mikdash, your body, your temple. And bring your mind to center. Bring your body to center. Bring your spine to center. Bring your thoughts to center. Bring your yad and your kaf to center. Bring your regal, so that they may be washed and clean. For today is a day of freedom. Today is a day of warning. Today is the day that Yahuwah has given to us as another shabath, that we may cease from our labors and our works and our own selfish self, our own selfish ways, and put away the works of the flesh, that we may walk in the Ruach. For to walk in the Ruach is to be Yahuwah's. To walk not in the Ruach is to not be none of his. And to be cast in the lake of fire, that you may be purified and be brought out to Sheol by your confessions. For today we acknowledge the one who made all the heart of the earth, all in the heart of the earth, all the rivers and streams, the one who gives life and understanding to both male and female, Zakar Nakubal, the one who allows the actual inward man to be transformed by the renewing of their mind, and the one who blinds your mind, the one who allows your heart and your mind to walk in righteousness and purity of mind and purity of thought, and not rebel against Yahuwah Elohim, the one who allows your household to be in order, and the one who allows your house to be in disorder, in disarray, that you may learn your Qahalath, your lessons, and how to be walk in operation and in true righteousness and true love. Yahuwah Elohim. So this Yom, as we move forward in Yahushua Mashiach. We move forward in his steps, who did no sin, neither was deceit found in his mouth. When he was reviled, he reviled not back. When he was persecuted, he threatened not, but committed himself to them that judgeth righteously, to him. Right? So we look at ourselves and we look at our inward man. We look at our inward being, right? That is the truth, right? First, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 8. 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 8, or 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Yeah, 1 Corinthians chapter 8. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 1. It says, now concerning food or lakam, or he say a call or akla offered to idols. We know that all of us possess knowledge. Everybody should have knowledge. Everybody should have be not unless you're just lazy in your heart and your mind and you don't want to actually see that you don't want to understand nothing. Don't want no intellectual knowledge. Don't want to use your mind. So therefore, everybody has knowledge, right? This knowledge puffs up, but love builds up, right? So all this food and all these things that people research and everything that put in their body, he said this knowledge puffs up. You know what it does? All the herbs and all the vegetables and all the foods that people eat and everything that people study and read, that knowledge is gonna puff you up. And you know what happens when you get puffed up? Right? You're gonna turn into the dragon, right? And you know what happens when you turn into the dragon? Then you're gonna look like Penuel, you're gonna look like Shemjaza, you're gonna look like Azazel, then you're gonna start looking like the fallen. You're gonna look just like the people who you birthed come out from. You're gonna be just like the Nephilim that birthed out and that came into the world and destroyed the people. This knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. Ahaba. That's what builds people up. That knowledge is not going to build you up. Because why? Because though our outward man perish, our inward man is renewed day by day. The only thing the plants do is suppress, and what? It suppresses the inevitable. But eventually it's going to happen. Eventually those things are not going to work. So Ahaba builds up, because Yahuwah wants a kingdom overflowing with righteousness and love inside, because that's the first fruit of the Ruach. You want the first fruit? Seek ye first the Malkut. That's the first fruit. Right? He said, kindness, ahab, joy, peace, patience, meekness. Right? Faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Right? But this knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. If anyone imagines that he knows something, right? So it doesn't matter, male, female. You think you know something, he not yet knows as he ought to know. Because everybody thinks they know something, and you think you have a lot of intellect, and it'll puff you up. But he said, you don't know like you ought to know, though. But if anyone loves Elohim, he is known of Elohim. So if you love Yahuwah, you known of him. Right? If you know him. Right? Because if you don't understand that, then you're going to find yourself in a lot of transgression. And you're going to be doing a lot of things that you should not do, right? So this is the book of Qurach, chapter 3. The book of Qurach, chapter 3 and verse 1. The book of Qurach, chapter 3 and verse 1. The book of Qurach, chapter 3 and verse 1. It says, "Hear me, you father, hear me, your father, O children, and do thereafter that ye may be saved. For Yahuwah has given the father honor over the children." So you think that your honor is above your father. It's just like the very same thing. Yahuwah sitting in the highest shaman, he got his son. So if Yahushua think that his honor was above his father, then guess what happens? Now you think he said, "Why callest thou me good?" There's only one that's good, and that's Yahuwah himself. It's just the same way with a children in the household with their father. If the father not there, then guess what? The children are going to think their honor is greater than the father. That's why you have a lot of people thinking their honor is greater than the father. That's why you have daughters who think their honor is greater than their father. They think that's why they think their honor is greater than their husband, because they don't have these things. And do thereafter that you may be safe, right? It says, going to verse 1, "Hear me, your father, O children, and do after that you may be saved. For Yahuwah has given the father honor over the children, and have confirmed the authority of the mother over the sons." Right? So you look at all that. Why would he confirm the mother over the sons? Because Jerusalem above is free, as Galatians says. And she's the mother of us all. Why? Because Jerusalem is over the sons. Because Jerusalem produces the sons. You Chdsh Jerusalem, right? But guess what? "Whoso honoreth his father maketh an atonement for his sins," right? When you honor Yahuwah in the higher Shamayim. Right, so this is the book of Malachi. Right? This is the book of Malachi. He said, why? This is Malachi chapter 2. Malachi chapter 2. Malachi chapter 2. Actually, Malachi chapter 1. Go to Malachi chapter 1. Malachi chapter 1, or Malachi chapter 1, verse 5. "Your own eyes shall see this, and ye shall say, Great is Yahuwah beyond the border of Yasharal." He said, "Well, are you in Yasharal right now?" No. But guess what? Great is Yahuwah beyond the border of Yasharal. Why? Because it's all part of it. Because his honor is above the children. But yet, that honor is gone now. Right? He says, "A son honors his father, and a servant his master." He said you should. Because no one can serve two masters. You hate the one or you love the other. "If then I am a father, where is my honor?" Where's my honor, daughter? Where's my honor, son? Yahuwah is looking for his honor. But guess what? None whatsoever. And guess what? "And if I am a master, where is my fear?" Because he said he the master of the house. Yahushua the master of the house. I mean, nobody fear him. I don't fear no man. I don't fear Yahushua Mashiach. I don't fear him at all. And guess what? That's the reason why you never feared your father growing up, and that's why you didn't fear when you said we got a husband, you misbehaved yourself because you hated your father. And being that you hated your father, and therefore you misbehave with your husband, and therefore you become just like what this verse says. And you know what the mother, the father, you know what the father looking for? You know what the husband looking for? You know what the mother looking for? "If I am a father, where is my honor?" They're looking for some honor from you. And yet what it says, "And if I am a master, where is my fear?" Even Yusuf feared another man that was a master of the house. He said, "No, he put me over everything except you." He feared. That's why he ran away from her when she was trying to get him to commit adultery, because he feared the master of the house. Right? But she didn't. She didn't fear the master of the house. That's why she was trying to sleep with somebody and commit adultery, because she didn't fear the master of the house. Because her father, of course you know how she treated her father, because if she treat her husband the same way and commit adultery, of course you're going to treat her husband the same way as she treat her father. "And if I am a master, where is my fear, says Yahuwah of hosts? O priest, Kahanim, who despise my name." Oh, here we go. "Kahanim, who despise my name. But you say, how we have despised your name? By offering polluted food upon my altar. That's what people do. You offer polluted food on his altar. Right, this is going back to the book of Qurach. Skipping down, Qurach chapter 3. The book of Qurach chapter 3 and verse 25. As we go in the book of Qurach chapter 3 verse 23. 3:23. Actually 3:24. Qurach 3:24. For many are deceived by their own vain opinion. That's what, it's a lot of people deceived. A lot of men, women, and children deceived. Guess what? And evil suspicion has overthrown their judgment. Why? Because when you start having suspicious behavior, you say you don't overthrow your judgment on what your judgments on people. It overthrows inside of you. But here we go. Without eyes, thou shalt not want light. Why? You're going to be wanting to see. It says, profess not knowledge, therefore, that thou hast not. Because any man think he knows something. You don't know like you ought to know. He said, I know. No, you don't. You know why you think you know? Verse 26, a stubborn heart shall fare evil. That's why, because you're stubborn. Because you're a stubborn person. There's a stubborn heart shall fare evil at the last, and he that loveth danger shall perish therein. He said, you real risky. You reckless. Just like you talked about reckless driving. He said, you real reckless, right? That's verse 27. An obstinate heart shall be laden with sorrows, right? And the wicked man or woman shall heap sin upon sin. Because that's the whole point, right? It does, right? This book of Proverbs, mostly Proverbs chapter 8, 32 to 36. And now, O sons, listen to me. He said, listen to me, heirs, trustees. Barak are those who keep my ways, hear my instruction, and be wise, and do not neglect it. Why? Hear them, Shema. Why? Barak is the one who listens to me, watching daily at my gates. Why? Because that's what Shaul said, I die daily. He said, I die daily. You know what? Waiting beside my doors. Why would you be waiting beside my doors? Why? Because you're waiting to do something. Verse 35, for whosoever finds me finds life and obtains favor from Yahuwah. What do you mean favor? It's just like man, he said, if a man finds an Ayshr, he finds a good thing and get favor from Yahuwah. He said, whoever finds me finds life, obtains favor from Yahuwah. Why would he say that? Right, so it's the book of John, Yahukanan. John 5. You say, why would he say that? So this is the book of, this is the book of John chapter 7. Yahukanan chapter 7. Actually, no, 5. 5:37. 5:37, that's what I was right. Yahukanan 5:37. John 5:37. And the Father who sent me has himself borne witness about me. He said he bore witness. His voice you have never heard. His form you have never seen. And you do not have the bar abiding in you. Why? For you do not believe the one whom he has sent. He said there's no way in the world you got the bar inside of you. He said you don't even believe in him. He said you search the scripture. He said, you know what? You gonna do that. You search them because you think that in them you have eternal life. That's what people think because they keep cogs, muads, feasts, and all these things that they do. They think they got eternal life. He says, and it is they that bear witness about me. Because a lot of people think they got eternal life. But it's bear witness about me. Yet you refuse to come to me that you may have life. You refuse. Why? Because he said, I have come that you might have it, that you should, and you have it more abundantly. But it says, I do not receive kabod from people. You know why he don't? Because he don't get no honor. He don't get no honor because Yahuwah's honor is above the children. The Father's honor is above the children. But I know that you do not have the love of Elohim within you, because the love that the Father gets is above the children. The honor that the Father gets is above the children. You don't have it in you. I have come in my Father's name, because the honor of the Father is above the children. And you do not receive me, because the honor of the Father is above the children. And guess what? If another comes in his own name, you will receive him. He said, man, if anybody comes outside of Yahuwah's name, he said, you will receive anybody else that come outside Yahuwah's name. Matter of fact, they start talking about food and plants and herbs and all these other things and eating food and all the different mixtures and all the things that you could throw in your body. He said, you'll honor those people way more than you'll honor me. And they do it in 2026 AD. And guess what? If another comes in his own name, you will receive him. That's proof. 2026 AD. But guess what? How can you believe when you receive kabod? You receive kabod from one another, and do not seek the kabod that comes from the only Elohim. Do not think I will accuse you to the Father, because the honor of the Father is above the children. He said, I am not going to accuse you to the Father. Because guess what happens? There is one who accused you, Mushah. He said, well, Mushah. I thought Satan is the one that accused us. He is. When you transgress the Torah, he's sitting right there with you. But guess what? He said, there's one accuser, of whom you have set your hope. He said, you put your hope in him. For if you believe Messiah, you will believe me. He said, you will believe me because he put me as a manager over you. Because Yahushua is literally telling them, Yahuwah put me as a manager over you. The same way he put Messiah, a manager over you, he put me as the manager over you. I am the person that it was talking about. That's what he's saying to them. Because the honor of the Yahuwah is greater than the children. And guess what? If you believe Messiah, you would believe me, for he wrote of me. He said Messiah was writing about me the whole time, and you ain't even listening. But guess what? But if you do not believe his writings, how will you believe my words? He said, ain't no way you're going to believe my words. There ain't no way, right? Going back to the book of Mashali Proverbs, chapter 8 and verse 34. Mashali Proverbs, chapter 8, verse 34 on the slide. It says, Barak is the one who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting beside my doors. Why? For whosoever finds me finds life. Search the scriptures. For in them you think you have eternal life. It's talking about me. And obtains favor from Yahuwah. But he who fails to find me injures him or herself. He said, you do that. All who hate me love death. Why? Because the wages of sin is death. He said, you love death. You know, like people say, you don't speak life. But he said, if you fail to find Yahushua, you must love death. You must love it. Ain't nobody got to speak life, death to you. If you fail to find him, you must love it. Right? He said you must, right? That word for watching is shakad. It means to wake, to be alert. You know, that's the part. He said you got to be alert. To keep watch, to wakeful, right? It all means sleepless, to be the lookout. You know, some people don't want to be the lookout. They see something coming, they see something, they don't even say nothing. He said they'll probably say something 5 days later, 2 weeks later. He said you're supposed to be the lookout. He said be alert. Why? Because you know what happens is when you're a lookout, you're alert. That means you're not thinking about yourself. You're not careless. You're not a reckless driver. You know, you're not thinking about your own self, but you're thinking about the interests of others. You're only thinking about yourself. And when you're not only thinking about yourself, what happens? You destroy other people. Because you're supposed to be the lookout, right? Look out. Keep awake. Watch and wake. This is what happens. He said, Barak is the one who's watching at my gates, always. But you know what happens when you're not? You'll find yourself doing things you shouldn't, right? Why? He said, why would he say all that? Because it's important, right? It's all important, right? So Go to the book of Genesis, chapter 2. Genesis chapter 2 and verse 10. Genesis chapter 2 and verse 10. Actually, no. Genesis chapter 2 verse 18. Bereshit chapter 2 verse 18. Genesis chapter 2 and verse 18. Yeah, let's go to Genesis chapter 2 verse 10. And a river flowed out of Eden to water the garden, and it divided and became 4 rivers. The name of the first river is Pison. The name of the one that flowed around the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. Bdellium and onyx stones are there. The name of the second river was Gihon, and the one that flowed around the whole land of Cush. And the name of the third river was Tigris, which from the east of Assyria, and the fourth river Euphrates. Right, so you look at all this, right? Where do you find gold, bdellium, and all these things that man is greed and will destroy the earth? You find it on the ground. You find it in the rock. You find it in the mountains. You find it on a rock. You find it on a rock. That's where you find it at. You find it on a rock. Right? And Yahuwah Elohim took the man that he had put in the Garden of Eden and to work it and keep it, Shamar Abad. And Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man, saying, You may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat of it. For the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. Because you know why? We just read it in 1 Corinthians chapter 8. We just read it. He said, this knowledge puffs up. It puffs you up. It puffs you up, and it will turn you into the dragon. It puffs you up. Thinking about food that are offered to idols. He said, everybody have knowledge. He said, all this stuff puffs you up. But guess what? He said, what? And evil, it says, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat of it. For the day you eat of it, you shall surely die, because you must love death, because you ain't watching, and you ain't alert, and you ain't wakeful, and you ain't the lookout. You must love death, then, if you do it. Then Yahuwah Elohim said to the man, it's not good that the man should be alone. Why? I will make him a helper fit for him. Why? Because if you're fit for a person at Ayshr, that means you're going to see cut for the rosh. That means you're going to be a helper for him. He said, not an authority figure over him and telling him what to do. He's telling you what to do. If you are an Azar, a help, because the kabod of the father is not, the kabod of the children is not above the father. Because it ain't. The honor of the children is not above the father. Matter of fact, the honor of the wife is not above the husband. But it says, I will make him a helper fit for him. Now out of the ground Yahuwah had formed every beast of the field and every bird of the Shamaim and brought them to the Adam to see what he would call them. Right, because the man was literally created, and he was naming things before Ayshr even came on the scene. And he got him right there on the mountain. Guess what he said? And every bird of the Shamaim brought them to the man to see what he would call them. He brought them to him to see what he's going to call them. You know what happens when a man gets brought, an animal gets brought to a man, he names them. Just the same way a lot of things happen in this world. And whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. He said whatever the man called him. But guess what? The man gave names to all livestock and to the birds of the Shamaim and to every beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not found an Ayshr fit for him. For the type of labor and work that he is doing, he needs somebody very different from the population of people. So Yahuwah Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, a tardima of the man Adam, and when he slept, he took one of his ribs and closed up its flesh, and the rib that Elohim had taken from the man, he made into an Isha and brought her to the man. And then the man said, this is at last bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called Isha. So therefore, the man named her too. He named her too. based upon the birth that took place. Because Yahuwah caused a deep sleep to fall on him, and he created something, and guess what? He saw somebody similar to him. But guess what? She shall be called a child because she was taken out of Adam. She was taken out of Adam. She was made from Adam. She was birthed from Adam. And just like you see that naturally now with the animals today. You see that naturally now with a woman that when a child comes out between her feet, between her regal. That's why a woman need to watch where she goes, because the children come out from between your regal, your feet. You need to make sure your feet are clean. That's why Yahusha said, if you can understand this, he said, people be clean, but if their feet ain't clean, they ain't clean. That's why when their hands ain't, they can be clean, but their feet ain't clean, you ain't clean. He said, you're not clean. He said, if you can understand this, do this for one another. And guess what? And therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his Isha, and they shall become one flesh. Why? Because once you join to somebody, you join to that person. Right? Let somebody cut you, let somebody kill you, or like cut your leg off. You never seen a dog got 4 legs. Amazing, a dog got 4 legs, right? And they be walking, right? And then next you know somebody cut one of their legs off. That's the only way they're gonna lose their leg. And when you cut it off, it die. That's why when you cut off things from your life or you separate from your Isha, the relationship gonna die. I promise you. It's gonna die. He said it ain't gonna die. Yeah, it will. It will die. It's gonna die. It will. And the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed. Why? Why is this important, right? Right, so this is the book of Matthew. He said, why is this important? Right? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 21. Matthew chapter 7, verse 21. Matthew chapter 7, verse 21. Not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, will enter the kingdom of Shamayim. If I'm a master, where am I fear? But the one who does the will of my Father who is in Shamayim. On that day, many will say, Master, did we not Naba in your name? Cast out demons in your name? Do many mighty works in your name? You say you do a lot of things. Then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. Adam and Cool. Depart from me. We did many mighty works in your name. Depart from me, Adam and Cool. I will declare to them. Many gonna say this. That's why he could rush them out of the gun. If I'm a master, where my fear at? Ain't got no fear. Ain't no Yare Yahuwah no more, right? Verse 24, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man, a Kakam Adam, wise man, who builds his house on the rock. Why do you think you build it on the rock? Because that's where bdellium, gold, onyx stones, and all these things are. He said, I'll liken you to a wise man who builds your house on a rock. But you know what? Guess what? When you're not Akkad and you're not the same mind and the same judgment and the same in everything, guess what the other person gonna want to do? And he said, the wise man who builds a house on the rock, and the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat on the house, but it did not fall because it was founded on a rock. But you know what happens when you don't want to be on the rock, right? And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man or woman who builds his house in the sand. That's cool in the garden. Because she ain't listening to the voice of Yahuwah Elohim when he told her not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. She wanted to eat food offered to idols. Any man or woman who thinks they know something, you don't know like you ought to know. He said, now you want to build your house in the sand. And you know what you want to do? And the rains fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat against that house and it fell and great was the fall of it. That's why I think he called it. Remember Revelation chapter 2, Remember from which you are fallen, and repent, and do your first works over, and build on the rock again, like the first river that we just read about. But guess what? And when Yahushua finished these things, the crowds were astonished at his teaching. He said, man, they were astonished. And what he said, for he was teaching them as one who had authority. Why? Because he did. If I be a master, where my fear? And not as the scribes. Because you know why they love them scribes, right? He said, why? Because that's all a part of it. When you love the scribes, then what happens? They're going to drown you in their knowledge. And guess what? You ain't going to never learn nothing. You know what he says? Because you'll be so drowned in it, by the time you figure it out, you'll be forever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. You won't. It'll be an enigma to you. It'll be like an apparition. Right? Because they like that type of stuff, right? So this is the book of let's see. Right, so this is the book of Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 16. Numbers chapter 16 and verse 1. Numbers chapter 16 and verse 1. Now Korah, the son of Ayshr, the son of Qahalath, the son of Lui, and Dathan, and Abiram, the son of Elab, and the son of Peleth, the son of Rehoboam, took men. Right, so just like how Yahuwah hires you to be a manager, and he allows you to be a manager over people, or a manager over a household, or a manager over just being in the garden in general. And you can't be as if you can't eat things offered to idols. You can't eat things offered to any other animals. You definitely can't say the Father's, your honor is above Yahuwah Elohim. And once you do these things, it becomes something that is, you must love death. For the wages of sin is death. That's what happened to Adam in the cool in the garden. And it says, and they rose up before Mashah. And they rose up. What do you mean rose up? Kum. That word for rise is kum, right? And they rose up before Mashah with a number of people of Yasharal, 200 chiefs of the congregation, chosen from the assembly, well-known men, right? They're well-known. They assembled themselves together against Mashah and against Aharon and said to them, you have gone too far. He's like, man, y'all don't went too far. For all the congregation are Qahalath, and every one of them, and Yahuwah is among them. Right? Everybody is. Right? You know how it says? Everybody Qahalath, right? But here we go. This is the book of, he said, why? This is the book of Psalms. This book of Psalms. Where we go? Book of Psalms. I think it's titled. Everybody said it, right? I think it's book of Psalms. Yeah, book of Psalms, titled chapter. Yeah, I think it's. There's a generation that is. Yeah. Yeah, the book of Psalms, chapter 14, and verse 1. 14 and 4. Psalms 14, Tahalim 14 and 4. Have they no knowledge, all the evildoers who eat up my people as they eat bread, Lakam, and do not call upon Yahuwah? There they are in great terror, for Elohim is with the generation of the righteous. You would shame the plans of the poor, but Yahuwah is his refuge. Oh, that the salvation of Yasharal would come out of Saon, right? When Yahuwah restores the fortunes of his people, let Yaakov rejoice, let Yasharal be glad. Why? Because it's the whole point of it. Right, going back to the book of Midbar, chapter 16, verse 3. And they assembled themselves against Mashah and against Aharon and said to them, you have gone too far. For all the congregation is Qahalath. People say this in your household too. And every one of them, as Yahuwah is among them, because everybody got Yahuwah, Everybody filled with the Ruach. Why then do you exalt yourselves above the assembly of Yahuwah? He said, why are you exalting yourself? We are all the same. But you know, the honor of the Father is not above the children. We are all the same, right? And when Messiah heard it, he fell on his face. He is shakah. He fell on his face. And he said to Korah and all his company. So he bowed to the very men who were coming at him with all their foolishness and the demons and the shadim and what they were conspiring to do. He bowed to all them people. Right? And he said, Aynu. Right? And guess what he said? And when Messiah heard it, he fell on his face and he said to Korah and all his company, in the morning, Yahuwah will show who is his and who is Qahalath, and will bring him near to him. So you're gonna find out after I done bowed to the ground. You see my Aynu, my Anah, my Sanah, my Anua, my Anah. You see my humbleness. You see my humility. I'm even bowing to you, even when you're in your transgression and your sin and you rising up. I'm even bowing and hitting the ground. And guess what? The one whom he chooses, he will bring near to him. He said, the one whom he chooses. He said, do this, take a censer, Korah and all his company, put fire in them, and put incense on them before Yahuwah tomorrow, and the man whom Yahuwah chooses shall be the Qahalath one. You have gone to, it says, shall be the Qahalath one. It says, you have gone too far, sons of Levi, Louis. And Messiah said to Korah, hear now, you sons of Louis. It is a small thing for you that Elohim of Yasharal has separated you from the congregation of Yasharal to bring you near to himself, to do service of the tabernacle of Yahuwah. He said, he brought you near to do the service of the tabernacle of Yahuwah. Why? This is Ukanan, John chapter 9 and verse 38. This is the book of Ukanan chapter 9 verse 35. John chapter 9 verse 35. This is Ukanan chapter 9 verse 35. And Yahusha heard that they had cast him out and had found him. He said, do you believe in the son of Adam? He answered, and who is he, sir, that I may believe in him? Right? Let's go back up. Right? Go back up to Ukanan chapter 9 verse 24. John chapter 9 verse 24. So for the second time they called the man whom had been blind and said to him, give kabod to Elohim. We know that this man is a sinner. He said, we know Messiah is a sinner. He said, man, you've gone too far. And he answered, whether he is a sinner, I do not know. One thing I do know, that I though I was blind, now I can see. They said to him, what did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answered them, I have told you already, and you will not be listening. He said, I already done told you like 177 times, and you won't listen. Why do you want to hear it again? He said, so what, you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciple? Because you know they needed 2 or 3 witnesses. They're trying to catch him in a lie. That's why they brought him to him again. That's what Yasharal and Yehuda do. That's what they skilled at. I got 2 witnesses. I'm skilled at it. And they reviled him, saying, you are his disciple, but we are the disciples of Messiah. Right? You know how they say. But we just see Messiah here hitting the ground. Messiah bound to the ground right here. You disciples of Messiah. Messiah is hitting the ground right here when Korah and all them rising up and trying to teach Messiah something and saying you've gone too far. But here, this guy here trying to teach you something and you ain't even hitting the ground. But get what he said. I have told you already and you will not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you not want to become his disciple? And they reviled him saying you are his disciple, but we are the disciples of Messiah. Because that's whom you trust. For had you believed Moses, Messiah, you would have believed me. Because he wrote about me. And guess what he said? We know that Elohim has spoken to Messiah, but as for this man, we do not know where he come from. We don't know what you talking about. We know Messiah. We know Yahuwah spoke to him. If you did, you would have hit the ground. Because he coming at you just like this man did. Just like Korah is. He coming at them just like Korah, trying to teach them something. Everybody Qahalath. Right? We know where he come from. The man answered, why? This is an amazing thing. You do not know where he comes from, and yet he opened my eyes. We know that Elohim does not listen to sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of Elohim and does his will, Elohim listens to him. Right? So that's what happened to Korah, right? That's what happened to Korah, right? That's what happened to Korah, right? And he opened my eyes, and we know that Elohim does not listen to sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of Elohim and does his will, Elohim listens to him. Never since the world began has it been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from Elohim, he could do nothing. He said he could do nothing. And they answered him, you were born in utter sin. He said, you born in utter sin. What you talking about? And would you teach us? And they cast him out. Well, they threw him out too. You know how it is. They throw your behind out. But that's a whole nother subject, right? That's how it worked. That's how it worked, right? So, yeah. And they cast him out. Why? Because you see Korah right here. What did Korah do? Korah raising his voice, saying all these things, trying to teach them something. And Mashah hit the ground. These men said, we know, we disciples of Mashah. They ain't hit the ground. But guess what it says? Verse 32. Never since the world began has it been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from Elohim, he could do nothing. They answered him, you were born in utter sin, and will you teach us? And they cast him out. And Yahusha heard that they had cast him out. And having found him, said to them, you believe in the son of Adam? He answered, and who is he, sir, that I may believe in him? Yahusha said to him, you have seen him, and it is he who is speaking to you. Because I'm just like Mashah. I'm just like Mashah. I came with my father's name. He said, when somebody come in their own name, you'll believe him. But I came with my father's name. He said, Master, I believe. And he worshipped him. And Yahusha said, for judgment I have come into this world. Uh-oh. Why he come into the world? That those who do not see may see. Uh-oh. And those who see may become blind. He said, you think you see, that you may become blind. Why? Some of the Pharisees, you talking about Mashah's disciples, near him, and then he said, he brought you to the tent meeting. And what was Korah? He was the son of Louis. Wasn't he not a son of Levi? Oh, from the tribe of Louis, right? Of Mashah's tribe, right? And he said, some of the Pharisees near him heard these things. And he said to him, are we blind? Yahusha said to them, if you were blind, you will have no guilt. But being that you say, we see, your guilt remains, right? Right? You go in the book, going back to the Midbar, we're going to get through this. Numbers chapter 16 and verse 8. And Mashah said to Korah, hear now, you sons of Louis. Is it too small a thing for you that Elohim of Yasharal has separated you from the congregation of Yasharal to bring you near to himself, to do the service of the tabernacle of Yahuwah? And then they just cast the blind man out. And then he ended up coming near to Yahushua Mashiach. Outside of a congregation. And you see him talking to the man. He said, you believe on the son of Yahuwah? And guess what? And that he has brought you near him. And he said, and the Pharisees near him said, are we blind also? He said, if you were blind, you have no guilt. He says, and all your brothers and the sons of Louis with you? Huh? Yeah, all with you. And would you seek the priesthood also? He said, you seeking the priesthood also? He said, therefore it is against Yahuwah that you and all your company have gathered together. Because if you will see, you will have no, if you were blind, you will have no guilt. But being that you say we see, your guilt remains. Because none of the children's honor goes above the father. Not one of them. Because your honor don't go above Yahuwah. Not one of you. But guess what? What is Aharon? What is Aaron that you grumble against him? He said, what is Aaron that you grumble against him, right? Right? So this is the book, that word for Korah, guess what Korah name means? Korah, Qurach. His name is Qurach. 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 His name means bald. Qurach. His name means bald, right? He said, why is this important, right? This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 44. Yakazal, Ezekiel, chapter 44 and verse 10. Yakazal, Ezekiel chapter 44 and verse 10. Ezekiel chapter 44 and verse 10. But the Levites who went far from me, going astray from me after their idols, when Yahshua went astray, shall bear their punishment. We just read that in 1 Corinthians chapter 8. He said, in proclaiming the food offering to idols, everybody has knowledge. But any man thinks he knows, man or woman thinks he knows something, as you don't know like you should know. Right? They shall be ministers in the sanctuary, having oversight at the gates of the temple and ministering in the temple. We just read that. And when they were doing in there, when the blind man came in there, they were doing that when the Yahusha came on the scene. They shall slaughter the burnt offerings and the sacrifices for the people, and shall stand before the people to minister to them, because they ministered to them before their idols, and became a stumbling block of iniquity for the house of Yahshua. Therefore I have sworn concerning them, declares Yahuwah Elohim, that they shall bear their punishment. If you were blind, you have no guilt. But being that you say you see, your guilt remains. They shall not come near me. Oh, being that you say you see, your guilt remains. For the Pharisees near him, are we blind also? He said, if you were blind, you have no guilt. But then that you say we see, your guilt remains. To serve me as priest, nor come near any of the Qahalath things and the things that are Qahalath. But they shall bear their shame in the abominations that they have committed. Yet I will appoint to them to keep charge of the temple. He said, I still give you that. But guess what? To all its service and to all that is done in it. See, so why is this important? Right, skipping over to verse 19. And when they go out into the outer court to the people, they shall put off the garments in which they have been ministering, and lay them in the Qahalath chambers. And they shall put on other garments, lest they transmit Qahalath to the people with their garments. They shall not shave their heads. What Korah name mean? His name mean bald. It says, they shall not shave their heads and let their locks grow long. They shall surely trim the hair of their heads. No priest shall drink wine when they enter the inner court. Why? That's what Korah name means. We say, now Korah, that's the name bald. His name means bald. Right? The son of Yitzhar, his name means shining oil. You know how you ever seen people with all that oil on their face? Right? On Instagram, all these people be putting all that oil on their face, and they be doing all this stuff. It means shining oil. It means, so Korah, who's bald-headed, and it says shining, he's the son of shining oil. Why? That's what the name Ayshr means. He's the son of shining oil, right? That word for Qahalath, it says, now Korah, the son of Ayshr, the son of Qahalath. Qahalath, that word for Qahalath is assembly. So he's bald-headed, he got shining oil, and he an assembly. He's the son of an assembly. He the son of an assembly. He got shining oil, and he bald headed. Right? And guess what? Guess what else? It also means to ally oneself. Right? He'll ally, right? He a son of Louis. Right? Guess what also? And he says, and he the son of Louis. I mean, the Louis means what? Louis, right? Or Louis. It means joint too. Right? So he a bald headed, shining oil. Right? He joined to an assembly. Right? Or he's an assembly of these people. That's what Qurach's whole thing means. He the son. Right? That's what he is. He a son. Right? This is all important, right? Right, so the word Dathan, right? So this says and Dathan, so he's talking about other people, right? Dathan means belonging to a fountain. Dathan means belonging to a fountain. Right, so this is the book of Yochanan, John, chapter 4, and verse 20. Actually 4 and verse 13. John chapter 4, verse 13. John chapter 4, verse 13. And Yahushua said to her, everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks of the water that I will give him will never be thirsty again. The water that I will give him will become a spring of water welling up to eternal life. He said, welling up to eternal life. The woman said to him, it's going to be a fountain. You know, that's meme. Guess what? Belonging to a fountain. He said belonging to a meme, right? If you belong to this fountain, it's going to be like a spring of water coming into everlasting life. The woman said to him, sir, give me the water so that I will not be thirsty. He said, I want this water. Or have to come here to draw water. She was thinking about carnal water. I ain't gonna never have to get no bucket of water anymore. I'm gonna be lazy. Right? I ain't gonna never have to get any water anymore. I'm gonna be lazy. I'm gonna get this water that I'll never thirst again. I just drink it one time. I'll never have to be grabbing any barrels of water like Rebecca and bring no water to water no camels. I ain't gotta do nothing. That's what people want. They want that lazy, but he was like, nah, they ain't talking about that type of water. You still gonna have to do that. Yahushua said to her, go call your husband and come here. You say, why? Because your honor don't go above your husband. That's why he said that. That your honor don't go above your husband. Just like the children's honor don't go above the father. He said, I will never do that. If I be a father, where's my fear? Why do you think he's feared? He feared. If I be a master, where's my fear? If I be a father, where's my honor? You know why he was doing that? He said, man, I ain't gonna disrespect the master of the house like Yusuf didn't disrespect the master of the house. Right? The woman answered him, I have no husband. Yusuf said to her, you are right in saying I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you now have is not your husband. He said, man, only thing you've been doing, you've been jumping around and you ain't been stable your whole life. What you have said is true, right? And people say, I don't want nobody to tell me that. Well, Yahushua just told a woman that you're a fornicator. And the woman said to him, sir, I perceive that you are a Nabi. That's how you're going to know a Nabi. Right, so the name Dathan, going back to Dathan, name means belonging to a fountain, back on the slide, right? And then the name Abiram, so Dathan and Abiram, that word for Abiram, it means my father is exalted. That's what his name means. My father is exalted, the exalted one. Right? So he got shining oil, he bald-headed, he joined the assembly of Louis, and his father, he said, he's at what? My father is exalted. These are all the people that's joining with these people. Fountain, right? My father exalted. All these people are joined together against Messiah. So you think about that. all these things, attributes of these men are now joining against Mashah, who said, Yahusha said, you have set your hope in Mashah. He said, but I came in my father's name, just like Mashah came, and I am just like him. So all you got all this knowledge, and he's like, and then he says, it says, and Dathan and Abiram, the son of Elab, his name means my father, my Elohim is father, or Elohim is father. Right? Because the father honor don't go above the children, right? But you see, the son of Elab, the son of Abiram, the father exalted, because the children's honor don't go above the father. Elohim is father. And guess what happens? That word for on is one. It means own. Own. Right? That word for on is own. It means wealth or vigor. He said, man, and they got some money with them. So all these people getting together and they got wealth, because that's the last thing you need. You need some money. Because there ain't nowhere in the world you're going to be rising against Mashah with all these things. You got to be strong with it. Right? You got to be real strong with it. And when you come at Yahusha, you can't be coming with no money. Right? You definitely going you definitely ain't got a chance, right? They came all that, right? When you start getting arrogant, you get that money, you start having all these attributes, and you think that, oh yeah, I'm finna come against Yahushua Mashiach. Right? So that word for the son of On, the son of Peleth. So the father of On is Peleth. And guess what happens? His name means swiftness. Man, you real quick to come do it now. Real quick. If you say, yeah, I'm very, very tough. He's like, no. He said, you real quick. You real quick, right? So that we're going to verse 12. That same Bimidbar, chapter 16, verse 12. And Mashah sent and called Dathan and Abiram, right? The sons of Elab, right? My father is Elohim, right? You got the exalted father, fountain, right? All together. And they said, we will not come up. He said, man, we ain't coming up. They got all father exalted, my father Elohim, and the fountain, right? They all don't want to come up, right? What he said? It is a small thing that you have brought us up out of the land flowing with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness, that you must also make yourself prince over us. He said, man, you make yourself prince over us. Moreover, you have not brought us into the land flowing with milk and honey, nor given us the inheritance of the fields and the vineyards. Will you put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up. He said, will you put the eyes out of these men? He said, man, you ain't do nothing for us. And guess what he said? We will not come up. And Mashah was very angry and said to Yahuwah, do not respect their offering. He said, why? He said, why? Right? This is the book of Matthew. He said, don't even respect their offering. Why? Because it's all a part of it. He said, it's all a part of it. Right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 26. Actually, go to Luke. Go to Luke chapter 22, verse. Luke Oriah 22 and verse 56. Luke 22:56. Luke Oriah 22:56. And then a servant girl, seeing him as he sat in the light and looking closely at him, said, this man also was with him. He's like, man, what are you talking about? This man also was with him. This old rebellious Korah. You know, Koph, Peter. This old rebellious Korah. He was with him too. What you talking about? Actually, go Luke 22:50-54. Then they seized him and led him away, bringing him into the high Kahan's house. And Qahalath was following him at a distance. And when they had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and sat down together, Qahalath sat down among them. And then a servant girl, seeing him as he sat in the light and looking closely at him, and said, "This man was also with him." This old Korah. He was with Korah. You know, this old rebellious person against the Levite priesthood. You know, this person that was with Louis, the person that was with Yahushua Mashiach, proclaiming himself to be Mashiach. You know, this guy saying he just like Mashiach. We know Yahuwah spoke to Mashiach, but this man, we don't know where this man came from. Who you think this is? He said, "Man, what you talking about? Man, you gone too far." And guess what? This man was also with him, but he denied it. He said, "Man, I ain't with Korah and them. I ain't with Korah and them. I ain't with Yahushua Mashiach. I ain't with them group of men coming at you." Guess what he said? This man also was with him, but he denied it, saying, "Woman, I do not know him." And a little later, someone else saw him and said, "You are one of them." But Qahalath said, "Man, I am not." He like, "Man, I'm not with Korah, Biriam, Dathan, the son of Eli. I'm not with these people, right? I'm not with them." Because Yahushua said, search the scriptures, you think you got eternal life. It's talking about me. Because I'm just like Korah when they rebelled against Mashiach. But you all thought you sat in Mashiach's seat. And you thought that you were his disciples, not even knowing that I was the person coming to overthrow you. They didn't even know it. Because had they known it, they wouldn't have crucified Yahushua Mashiach. The same way Korah and them came at Mashiach, they wouldn't have did it if they'd known it. But guess what? Because they ain't know. That's why he said everybody get a censer and light some incense, because they ain't know. They didn't know. Because had they known it, they wouldn't have did it. And after an interval of about an hour, still another insisted, saying, "Certainly this man was with him, for he too is a Galilean." But Qahalath said, "Man, I do not know what you are talking about." And immediately while he was still speaking, the rooster crowed. and the master turned and looked at Qahalath like, "Yeah, I told you." You know how man, you see walking, you see somebody, you just nod your head like that. See, I told you. And guess what? And Qahalath remembered the saying of the master, how he said, "Before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times." He said, why is that important? Because Korah was the son, right? He said, "You deny me 3 times," right? I'm going to talk about that. And he went out and wept bitterly. Right, going back to the Midbar chapter 16, we almost finished, 16 and 13. It said, "It is a small thing that you have brought us up out of the land of Mizraim with milk," it says, "flowing with milk and honey, to kill us in the wilderness, that you must also make yourself a prince over us. Moreover, you have not brought us into the land flowing with milk and honey, nor given the inheritance of the fields and the vineyards. Will you put out the eyes of these men?" Why didn't they blinded for Yahushua? And they say, "Nah, but you Mashiach who hit me." Yeah, he put out the eyes of those men. He did it to Yahushua. That's what they did to Yahushua. Why do you think they did that? "We will not come up." And Mashiach was very angry and said to Yahuwah, "Do you not respect their offering?" Why? Because they punched them people in the face. You punched Yahushua in the face and plucked out his eyes. Then you rose up again. Then you came at him with clubs and spears and got him in the middle of the night. And then you sent him away to crucify him. Guess what he says? "Do not respect their offering. I have not taken one donkey from them, and I have not harmed one of them." Ain't that something? And when you cut off a man's ear, what did Yahushua do? Put it right back on. He said, "I ain't harmed not one of them. And I ain't taking nothing from them." And Yahushua told him, right? Going back to Yuchanan chapter, they said, "Man, you don't know who Yahushua is." And he said right here, this is Yuchanan chapter 8, in verse, Yuchanan chapter 18 in verse 1. John chapter 18, verse 1. John chapter 18, verse 1. And when Yahushua had spoken these words, he went out with his disciples across the brook Kidron, where there was a garden, which he and his disciples entered. Now Judas, who betrayed him, also knew the place, and Yahushua met there with his disciples. So Judas had procured a band of soldiers and some of the officers, the chief priests, and the Pharisees. Oh, you mean from the tribe of Louis? And what they do? They came up Mashah with. They came up Mashah with what? Chief priests and the officers and the Pharisees, because you know the Pharisees near him said, Are we blind? If you were blind, you would have no guilt. But being that you say you see, your guilt remains. Even the woman who was saying, you were one of them too. Even the woman sitting there with blind too. Didn't know either. It says, and went there with lanterns and torches and weapons. He said, you come at me, you overthrow me. Then Yahushua, knowing all that would happen to him, came forward and said, whom do you seek? They answered him, Yahushua Nazareth. He said, I am he. Now going to verse 10. Then Simon Cobb, having a sword, drew it and struck off the high Kohan's servant and cut off his right ear. Then the servant came to Malchus. He says, the servant whose name is Malchus. So Yahushua said to Cobb, put your sword in your sheath. Shall I not drink of the cup my father has given me? So the band of soldiers and their captain and officers of the Yahudim arrested Yahushua and bound him. Right? Why? Because he put his ear back on, man. But guess what happens? Going to verse 15. And Mashah was very angry and said to Yahushua, do not respect their offering. I have not taken one donkey on them, and I have not harmed one of them. He said, I ain't do nothing. That was Cobb. He cut his ear off. I put it back on. Matter of fact, they came at me like a thief. With swords and clubs. You come at me like a thief? He said, I ain't do none of that. He said, I ain't do none of that. Going to Luke. He said, why? Because this is important, right? This is important. Going to book of Luke chapter 23. Luke chapter 23. Let's see, Luke chapter 23 and verse. Actually, go to Luke chapter 21. What is going on? Right, this Luke 22. Go to Luke 22:39. Luke 22:39. And then he came out and went, as was his custom, to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. And when they came to the place, they said to him, pray that you may not enter into temptation. And he withdrew from them about a stone's throw and knelt down and prayed, Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours. And they appeared to him, a Malachi from Shamayim, and strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and with sweat became like great drops of blood falling on the ground, right? Going to verse 47. And while he was still speaking, there came a crowd, and the man called Judas, or you mean Korah, one of the 12, was leading them. And he drew near to Yahushua to kiss him. And Yahushua said to him, Judas, would you betray the Son of Man with a kiss? And when those who were around him saw what would follow, they said, Master, we strike. Shall we strike with the sword? Shall we fight back? And one of them struck the servant of the high Kohan and cut off his right ear. But Yahushua said, no more of this. And he touched his ear and healed him. And Yahushua said to the chief priests and the officers in the temple and the elders who had come out against him, have you come out against a robber with swords and clubs? When I was with you day to day in the temple, you did not lay one hand on me. But this is your hour and the power of darkness. Right? Why? Because Mashah just said here, I ain't taking nothing from him. Matter of fact, I ain't harmed not one person. Verse 16. And Mashah said to Qurach, Be present, you and your company, before Yahuwah, you and they, and Aharon tomorrow. And let every one of you take his censer and put an incense in it, and every one bring before Yahuwah his censer. 250 censers you also. And Aharon each censer. Right? When you're a manager, you may have things rise up against you. You may have your children rise up against you. Matter of fact, you may have your whole household rise against you. So every man took his censer and put fire in them and laid incense on them and stood at the entrance of the tent meeting with Mashah and Aharon. Then Korah assembled all the congregation against them at the entrance of the tent meeting. And the kabod of Yahuwah appeared to all the Adah. Right, why? Verse 20. And Yahuwah spoke to Mashah and Aharon, saying, separate yourselves from among this Adah, this company, this assembly, that I may consume them in a moment. And they fell on their faces and said, O Elohim, the Elohim of the spirits of all flesh, shall one man sin? And will you be angry with all the congregation? Yeah, they were. Yahushua, why do you think Yahushua said, my Elohim, why hast thou forsaken me? Because he put all the sin on one person. Because he was trying to get Yahuwah from destroying the whole people of Yasharal. And he not put all the sin on Yahushua Mashiach, he was going to destroy the whole congregation of Yasharal, because the whole congregation of Yasharal is Korah. Qurach. You know, the father of the exalted father. Elohim is my father, the fountain. Right? And they had all the money. Right? They were so many attributes. Right? They were assembly, shining oil, and they were sons of Louis. He was going to destroy all of y'all. But being that he said, you know what? I'm going to put the sin on one person just so that I won't destroy all of you. He said, and guess what? And Yahuwah spoke to Mashah, saying, say to the congregation, get away from the dwelling of Korah and Dathan and Abiram. You were one of them too. You were with them too, weren't you? Get away from them. You were with them too, weren't you, Peter? Cough. Nobody want to be around Yahushua Mashiach. You know why? It looks like you're rebelling, but not even knowing you are the people that's rebelling. It was only the fact that Yahushua Mashiach was doing these things just so that you can understand what it's like to have your life spared, but not even knowing there is a judgment coming in the end. But it says right here, then Mashah rose up and went to Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Yasharal followed him. What? Then Mashah rose and went to Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Yasharal followed him. Well, who was that? That's Judas. When he had the elders and the chief priests and all the people, they followed Judas to the garden to go get Yahushua. And guess what happened? And he spoke to the congregation saying, depart, please, from the tents of these wicked men and touch nothing of theirs. Don't you dare touch nothing of theirs. You know what happens? Lest you be swept away with all their sins. That's what they thought. They thought Yahushua was evil. They didn't know that he wasn't. He said, you're going to be swept away with their sins. Why? So they got away from the dwellings of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. And that's what you know to think about it. And you think about all this. Every single person that was with Korah, they rose against Mashah, not even knowing that was Yahushua Mashiach. They didn't even know it. They didn't know it. And Dathan and Abiram came out and stood at the door of their tents, together with their wives, their sons, and their little ones. He said, man, they all had families. They all had families. They didn't even know it. They all were sitting there outside with the tents with their wives, their sons, and their little ones. And Mashah said, hereby you shall know that Yahuwah has sent me to do all these works, that it has not been of my own accord. Why? If these men die as all men die, or if they are visited by the fate of all mankind, then Yahuwah has not sent me. He said he ain't sent them. Why? But if Yahuwah creates something new and the ground opens its mouth and swallows them up with all that belongs to them, and they go down alive into Sheol, then you shall know that these men have despised Yahuwah. Right. Let me show you how they despise Yahuwah. Let me show you. This is Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 16 and verse 15. Matthew chapter 16 and verse 13. Matthew chapter 16 and verse 13. Now when Yahushua came into this district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, who do people say that the son of Adam is? Who did they say? And guess what he said? And they said, some say Yochanan the Immerser, right? You know, Yochanan. You know, because he was purity manifested in the flesh. Others say, Yahoo. You know, Yahoo. You know, the man that was on the mountain, he saw the earthquake, he saw the storm, he saw the wind, but he said, and then I heard a still small voice. You know that guy. Others say Yirmiyahu. Oh, you mean Yirmiyahu. You know, the one who nobbled against the priests in the palace. He said, and they were in their winter house. And he said, you're going to go into Babylon in captivity. And then they threw him in prison. You talking about that guy. You know that guy. Or one of the Nabi'im, you like Micaiah, when the king of Yasharal went out to fight. And he said, if Yahuwah ain't spoke about me, if you come back in peace, you talking about that guy. You are one of the Nabi'im, right? And he said to them, but who do you say that I am? Then Simon coughed. Oh, cough, you were one of them. You were with them. You were with them. That's what they said. That's what they said. You are the Mashiach, the son of the living Elohim. Yahusha answered him, cough, Barak are you, Simon Bar Yuna. Right? For flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in Shamayim, and I tell you, you are cough. And on this rock, I liken to a wise man that built a house on a rock. Oh, you mean like Adam in the garden? And upon this rock I will build my congregation, and the gates of Sheol shall not prevail against it. Say what? The gates of Sheol shall not prevail against it. And I will give to you the keys of the kingdom of Shamayim. And whatsoever you bind on earth shall be bound in Shamayim. And whatsoever you loose on earth shall be loosed in the Shamayim. Then he strictly charged the disciples, tell no one that he was Mashiach. Why? Because it got to be a secret. Because the only way I'm going to fulfill Korah and all those people and Moshe and Aaron, you're going to have to keep this a very secret. Because I have to be very, 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 you have to keep it under low. It's kind of like when Moshe died and then nobody knew where the body was to this day. You got to keep it a secret. You can't say anything. Right, so going back to Midbar chapter 16, verse 28. And Mashah said, hereby you shall know that Yahuwah has sent me to do all these works, and it has not been of my own accord. If these men die as all men die, or if they are visited by the fate of mankind, then Yahuwah has not sent me. It sounds like Micaiah, right? When they went out to fight. He sounds just like him. But if Yahuwah creates something new, and the ground opens his mouth and swallows them up with all that belongs to them, and they go down to Sheol alive, he said, man, the gates of Sheol shall not prevail against it. He said, upon this rock, your name is Kaf, man. Man, upon this rock, I'm going to build my congregation. And you know what? And the gates of Sheol ain't going to prevail against it. And guess what? Then you shall know that these men have despised Yahuwah. He was one of them. He was with them too. Not even knowing, you just despised Yahuwah. You didn't even know. That Kaf in the gates of Sheol, he said, whatsoever you loose on in Shamayim shall be loosed on the earth. If the earth, he said, if the ground opens its mouth, whatsoever you loose on earth, loose in Shamayim shall be loosed on the earth. Verse 31, and as soon as he had finished speaking all these words, the ground under them split apart, Whatsoever you bind on earth shall be bound in Shamayim. Whatsoever you loose on earth shall be loose in the Shamayim. And upon this rock I'm going to build my congregation, and the gates of Sheol shall not prevail against it. And guess what? And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up with their households and all the people who belong to Qurach and all their goods. He swallowed them up. So they and all that belonged to them went down alive into Sheol. And the earth closed over them, and they perished from the midst of the assembly. Right? And all Yasharal who were around them fled at their cry. For they said, lest the earth swallow us up. You know what happened? He said, this is what happened when everybody in one spot and everybody started feeling. He said, you got like 50,000 factions on the earth right now, right? Nobody's scared. You know why nobody feared? Because ain't nothing happened yet. It says, and Yasharal who were around, it says, and all Yasharal who were around them fled at their cry, for they said, lest the earth swallow us up. And fire came out from Yahuwah and consumed the 250 men offering incense. Man, Yahuwah threw fire on them too. He said, what this got to do with anything, right? This is the book of, man, this got a lot to do with everything, right? Right, so this is the book of, I think this is the book of Yeshayahu chapter 5. Isaiah chapter 5. Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 1. Let's go to verse. Isaiah chapter 5 verse 8. It says, woe to those who join house to house. And didn't know what they did? That's what they did. He said, man, who do men say that you are? Man, you must be one of the Nabi'im, one of the prophets. At least one of them, like Yeshayahu, I think it is. Woe to those who join house to house, who add field to field. You know, he say they want to join together and add that money together, right? That's what he said. That's what his last one, they say what? Meant wealth, money. Until there is no more room, right? And you are made to dwell alone in the midst of the land. Yahuwah of hosts has sworn in my hearing, surely many houses shall be desolate. He said, them and their households went down to Sheol. Large and beautiful houses without inhabitant. For 10 acres of a vineyard shall yield but one bath, and 1 omer seed shall yield but an ephah. Man, you brought us out here to die, man. You didn't even give us the vineyards yet. We ain't even got the land with milk and honey yet. Woe to those who rise early in the morning, that they may run after strong drink, who tarry late in the evening, and wine inflames them. They have their lyre and their harp and their tambourine and their flute and their wine at their feasts. But they do not regard the deeds of Yahuwah. Man, you don't despise Yahuwah. He said, you know what? If the ground opened up and swallow you up, then guess what? You despise Yahuwah, right? He said, you getting drunk, right? You know what he says? Therefore, my people go into exile for lack of knowledge. Because you think you know as you should know. But any person think they know, you need to know like you should know, right? In 1 Corinthians chapter 8. The honored men go hungry, and their multitude is parched with thirst. You know what happens when the old men get parched with thirst? And everybody going, the old men getting hungry because the father, he said, I'll be a father, where my honor? He said, you offered a polluted bread on my altar. You were like, I ain't eating none of that stuff, Louis. I ain't eating. He's like, man, the honored man done went hungry. You were like, I'm hungry. Therefore, Sheol has enlarged its appetite. Uh-oh. You know, if the ground opened up and it swallow you up, then you're going to know you despise Yahuwah. He said, how is Yahuwah's table despised? We read it in Malachi. He said, you offer a polluted bread on my altar. As a matter of fact, polluted incense. I have sent fire and burnt up 250 men offering incense too. Therefore, my people go into exile for lack of knowledge. Their honored men go hungry, and their multitude is parched with thirst. Therefore, Sheol has enlarged its appetite and opened its mouth beyond measure. And the nobility of Jerusalem, you know, all that, man, they had the fountain of living water. They had wealth. They had Elohim as their father. They had Qurach, right? We mean bald-headed, right? They were assembly. They had shining oil, and they were from Louis. That's what their whole company was. But then what happened to their whole company? Therefore, Sheol has enlarged its appetite and opened its mouth beyond measure, and the nobility of Jerusalem and the multitude will go down, her revelers, and he who exults in her. And the gates of Sheol shall not prevail against it. People say, what? They say, what do you mean? Because these are the things that take place within our own body. Because the earth is a feminine. And inside the earth is what? Sheol. And you know, inside of Sheol, the gates tend to open up every now and then tries to rise up against Yahushua Mashiach. And then you'll find yourself, so you want to rise against the... Yahushua already said it ain't going to prevail, so you want to rise against Yahushua Mashiach. He already told you 2,000 years ago that you ain't going to prevail. And you know, people say, we're going to still prevail. You're foolish. Guess what? Verse 15. Man is humbled, and each one is brought low. They saw, when the people, and all Yasharal saw, they all and fled from the cry, and they said, lest the earth follow us up. Man is humbled, and each one is brought low, and the eyes of the haughty are brought low. Everybody running. But Yahuwah of hosts is exalted in justice. Now you see why didn't all those names mean exalted, Elohim, Father exalted? But he really wasn't exalted because they despised Yahuwah. They just took his name in vain. And then he says, you know what? Now Yahuwah is exalted now. Because with all this fighting y'all got going on, want to rise up, nobody even thinking about my name. You think about it. All these people rising up, want to fight, quarrel, going back and forth. Nobody thinking about Yahuwah. You were like, what about my name? When y'all want to praise in the morning, evening time, y'all want to rise up and talk about who going to be, who this and who that. You want to be worried about it. Who gonna offer the incense and who did? He like, hold on. Don't you got your own personal prayer that you gotta go pray? Don't you got your own little personal offering? Don't you need to go and do your own prayer and confess your own sins? What you worried about all this other stuff for? But that's what people not worried about. You more worried about who gonna do this and who gonna do that. We read how Safan Yah got out of Sheol. How you think Korah and them gonna get out of Sheol? When you get thrown into these type of situations, Korah and them in Sheol right now. You see that? He told Safan Yah, you in hell. Didn't he say that? We read in the Apocalypse of Safan Yah. What do you think Korah and them at? This is going to happen to you when you get brought low. How you going to get out? You're going to have to confess your sins. Once Yahuwah bring you low, you're going to have to confess your sins like Safan Yah had to do when he realized, Yahuwah, have mercy on me. And the Malachi came to him and said, you have prevailed and you come out of Sheol. You know how people do? They use this and they be like, man, you could never get salvation again. You know how they say. Because they arrogant. But that's the whole point of it. So he needs to let you know you a liar. That's the whole point. He has to. He has to let every man, woman, child know you a liar. So you can actually come out of Sheol and cross to the other side. Just like everybody else has the opportunity that's still alive to do it. That's the only reason he even has allows these things to happen in your life, or in your place, in your assembly, in your household, in your family, in your abode, in your group, in your disciples, right? Even Judas, if he would have stopped and not killed himself, he would have had opportunity too, right? But he hung himself, right? Because the scripture had to be fulfilled. But still, when you realize your guilt, then you what? You do like Mashah. What Mashah do every time they came at him? He hit the ground, right? And it's not a game, right? Mashah knew already. He's like, I gotta, because Yahuwah put his hand over and let him pass by. He already knew what time it was, right? Everybody else don't know, right? Once you know, when you like Mashah, Meek, Anu, Anah, Sanan, Anua, you know, okay, it's time to hit the ground. Ain't no point in me even sitting here talking to you right now. There's no point. That's what we be doing. I don't even know why. I don't even know why I say, there's no point. This Yeshayahu chapter, keep going. But Yahuwah of hosts is exalted. This Yeshayahu 5:16. In justice, right? Judgment. That's what he just did. And the Qahalath of Elohim shows himself Qahalath in righteousness. Then shall the lamb graze as in pasture, and the nomads shall eat among the ruins of the rich. Weren't all those people rich? They had money. We just read all the names. It had wealth. And now you eat them on the rich, right? Oh, it's like, yeah, now it's some peace now. It's shalom. They not humble. They knew sent to Sheol. Now they got to confess their sins in order to come out. But you got peace now. You got shalom. Everybody grazing. It's nice and peace. You ever woke up in the morning, you go out and see some animals, you be like, man, it's a deer outside. You be like, and be quiet. And everybody eating rich food, right? Verse 18, woe to those who draw iniquity with the cords of falsehood. Now you see why. You can't lie and create falsehood and expect something righteous to come out of it. Hey, hi, my name is such and such. And it'd be your code name, right? You'd be like, man, it's falsehood and lie. So what do you expect? You expect you to tell me the truth for the next 10 years? No, you're gonna be a liar because you gave me a false name, and you're gonna be a liar for you've already started with deception. What makes you think you're gonna end with deception? End with truth, right? No. Woe to those who draw iniquity with cords of falsehood, who draw sin as with cart ropes. Right? You know how that is. They hang you behind them. Who say, let him be quick. Isn't that what one of the names meant for cords? It means swiftness. Right? One of the names of the sons, it means swiftness. The fathers of Dathan and Abiram, their name is swiftness. They were quick. Right? Let him speed his work that we may see it. He said, man, tomorrow we're going to do this thing. You light your incense, we do this thing tomorrow. Right? Real quick. Swift. Right? Let the counsel of the Qahalath one of Yasharal draw near. Remember he was asking them to come near? Man, if you were blind, you would have no sin. Those near him, the Pharisees, said, if you were blind, you have no sin. But being that you say you see, your guilt remains. And let it come that we may know it. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. Uh-oh. Who put darkness for light and light for darkness. You know what Yahushua told them when they came to get him? The scribes and the Pharisees and the elders and all of them with the weapons. He said, man, this is the power of darkness, right? This is what you all come to do. Who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes. There we go. And shrewd in their own sight. You think you see. Any man or woman think they know something. You know nothing. As you ought to know. As you should know. Guess what it said? Woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine, and valiant men at mixing strong drink. You just drunk. You love to drink all the time. And the woman already told you, because people don't want to listen to a woman, but in Proverbs 31, he said, my son, what are you doing? What are you doing, my son? It's not wise for a king to drink strong drink. Why? What does it do? It perverts your judgment, right? It throws you off. Matter of fact, it'll make you a desire of adulterous woman too. Guess what? Who acquit the guilty of, get what it says? Who are valiant at mixing strong drink. Who acquit the guilty for a bribe and deprive the innocent of his right. That's why that woman told him, King, my son, what you doing? It ain't a good thing for you to be drinking that strong drink. It's going to pervert your judgment. He said, you see what I just told you? You're going to need to find you a woman who's going to tell you the same thing. Who can find one like me? They're going to tell you this type of stuff. Who wise in tongue? That you can safely trust that they're not trying to hurt you, to make you continue to live a righteous life, right? When you get out of line. That's what you need. He said, why? Because they say, I don't need that. Yes, you do. You just don't know it. Why do you think his mother told him that? Right. Therefore, as the tongue devours the stubble, and as a dry grass sinks down in the flame, so their root will be rottenness, and their blossoms go up like dust. That's why you think he sent that fire and killed 250 men offering incense. He did that. For they have rejected the law of Yahuwah of hosts. You rejected the law, the Torah of Yahuwah of hosts, and despised, and what he just read, and despised the word of the Qahalath one of Yasharal. We just read that in verse 30. But Yahuwah creates something new, and the ground opens its mouth and swallows them up with all that belongs to them, and they go down alive in Sheol, and then you shall know that men have despised Yahuwah. I think Yahushua said he was a man despised, acquainted with grief, a man of sorrows. He said on him was the chastisement put on. He put it on him. He was despised and rejected of men, by everybody. Why didn't they start rejecting Mashah? He was despised and rejected by the whole company of Korah and all them families. Verse 25, therefore the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against his people. Why do you think it happened here? And he stretched out his yard against them and struck them, and the mountains quaked, and the corpses were as refuse in the midst of the streets. Why? For all this, the anger is not turned away. His hand is stretched out still to 2026 AD. It's still stretched out. His yard, I told you I gotta get to 10. People have no idea. You have to get to 10. His hand is still stretched out still against everybody. Why? His anger is not turned away. What happened to them people? And fire came down from Yahuwah and consumed 250 men offering incense. His hand is still stretched out still on everybody. What do you think gonna happen? Yahushua came and said, I came in the world to send fire on the earth, and I wish it was already kindled. Right? Last verse, and we're gonna keep going. And it says, he will raise a signal for the nations far away and whistle for them from the end of the earth, and behold, quickly, speedily they come. That's what the name means, right? Verse 36 of the same Midbar 16:36. And then Yahuwah spoke to Machal, saying, tell Eleazar, the son of Aharon, the priest, take up the censer out of the blaze. He's like, man, look at that, I done burnt these people up. Take a censer out of the blaze. Then scatter the fire far and wide, for they have become Qahalath. As for the censer of these men who have sinned at the cost of their lives, for the ways of sin is death. Let them be made into hammered plates as a covering for the altar, for they have offered them before Yahuwah, and they became Qahalath. Why? How did they become Qahalath? Because Yahuwah sent fire on them. Thus, they shall be a sign to the people of Yasharal. He said, being that Yahuwah put the fire on what they did, he said, they were evil and wicked, man. But then I put that fire on their behind. And you know what happened after he put that fire on? He said, man, it became Qahalath after I put fire on. That's what Yahuwah was like, I need fire on it. It's not my word like fire. This is Yeshayahu chapter 48 and 9. Isaiah chapter 48 and 9. Isaiah chapter 48 and 9. For my sake, I defer my anger. For the sake of my praise, I restrain it for you, that I will not cut you off. Why do you think he spared the rest of those people? Behold, I have refined you, but not as silver. I have tried you in the furnace of affliction. Why do you think he burnt them people up? He said, man, now it's Qahalath now. Now it's Qahalath now. Now it's Qahalath. Guess what verse 11 says? For my own sake I do it. For how should my name be profaned? You ain't gonna despise my name. Yahuwah, like, you're not despising my name. My kabod I will not give to another. Why do you think he didn't give it to them men? Elohim is my father. Elohim is my father. Because Dathan and Abiram were a part of those people. Guess what? Verse 39. Midbar 16:39. So Eleazar the priest took the bronze censer with which those who were burnt had offered, and they were hammered out as a covering for the altar, to be a reminder to the people of Yasharal, so that no outsider who is not of the descendants of Aharon should draw near to burn incense before Yahuwah, lest he become like Korah and his company, as Yahuwah said to him through Mashah. Because that was a commandment. Because you weren't supposed to do it if you weren't of the Aharon Louis. But on the next day, all the congregation of the people of Yasharal grumbled against Mashah and against Aharon, saying, you have killed the people of Yahuwah. Man, you done killed everybody. Right? You know how it is. They say, you did it. You know how they say. You did that, right? Because you spoke that, because the gates of Sheol ain't going to prevail against you. You know how Kof killed those people? You know, Ananias and fire, Kof killed them people, right? You know how it is. You know how they say. I did it. Kof, you killed them with your words, right? You cursed them. I assure you, he said, man, I ain't got nothing to do with that. You know how people say, you did that to me. You cursed my life. You speaking death. I mean, ain't got nothing to do with me, right? It's Deuteronomy chapter 32. I assure you, if it was a false navi or a false word, I'm sure you're not going to have it to you, right? Just Deuteronomy 32:39. Deuteronomy 32:39. See now, even I am he, and there is no Elohim beside me. I kill. Who did it? You did it, and I make alive. How you think Korah and them get out of Sheol? I wound and I heal, and there is none that can deliver out of my yard. For all this, my hand is still stretched out still. That man still got his hand. Hey, y'all, even after Yahushua died, rose, and ascended, the man's hand is still stretched out against everybody. For I lift up my yard to Shamayim, and I swear as I live forever. Man, you don't lift up your yard against the king. He lifted up his yard. He said, I live forever. If I sharpen my flashing sword and my hand take hold on judgment, I will take vengeance on my adversaries, and I will repay those who hate me. Because you know you got to hate Yahuwah when you start doing it. He's like, man, you must hate me then. All this stuff I done did, you hate me? I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh with the blood of the slain and the captives, from the long-haired head of the enemy. Because you ain't supposed to let your locks grow long either. When you're going to minister before Yahuwah, right? But here we go. Verse 41. But on the next day, the whole congregation of the people of Yasharal grumbled against Mashah and against Aharon, saying, you have killed the people of Yahuwah. No, he didn't. And when the congregation had assembled against Mashah and Aharon, they turned toward the tent of meeting. And behold, the cloud covered it. And the kabod of Yahuwah appeared. Behold, he coming with clouds, and every eye gonna see him. And even those that pierced him. And all shall well be, all the tribes shall well before him. And Mashah and Aharon came to the front of the tent meeting, and Yahuwah spoke to Mashah, saying, get away from the midst of this congregation, these people, that I may consume them in a moment. And they fell on their faces. And Mashah said to Aharon, take your censer and put fire on it from off the altar, and lay incense on it, and carry it quickly to the congregation, and make an atonement for them. For wrath has come out from Yahuwah to plague. The plague has begun. Man, this thing already started. Man, it's quick too. So Aharon took it as Mashah said, and ran in the midst of the assembly, and behold, the plague had already begun among the people. And he put out the incense and made an atonement for the people, and he stood between the dead and the living. It was people already dead. Dead and living. There's people already gone already. But that's what happens when you start to do things like this. It creates demons. Like you open up the gates of Sheol. Mastama starts to come, and Mastama starts to devour people immediately. Right? You ever seen these movies where people be doing it and you see all these spells, these things start coming out, start killing people? Right? Because when you don't despise Yahuwah, then there's protection, but then all the demons and spirits come when you start to do things like this. And people start dying. So in order to stop it, and he put on the incense and made an atonement for the people. I mean, he hit the ground. And he stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stopped. Why do you think Yahushua said, do not I feel Shamayim and earth? Why do you think he stood in the midst of the two thieves? Because he was trying to stop the plague. Because the plague already broke out already. Everybody was running their mouth against Yahushua Mashiach the whole time when he was on the cross. Come down from the cross, you believe. And they reviled him in the same way. They were saying a whole bunch of stuff too. They came at Yahushua Mashiach while he was exalted above them. Come down from the cross, we will believe in you. You be the son of Yahuwah, come down then. And the chief priests and the elders and the two thieves reviled him in the same way. And he was trying to stop the plague from everybody else. Now those who died in the plague were 14,700. Goodness, right? Hey, can you imagine? He said, get your numbers up. You know how people say, get your numbers up. Yeah, go ahead and get your numbers up. 14,700. That's like his hand is still stretched out. Still in 2026 AD. Besides those who died in the affair of the Qurach. He said that's not even adding how many died with Qurach. And Aharon returned to Mashah at the entrance of the tent meeting when the plague was stopped. Notice how all this stuff takes place, right? Because it's all a part of it. This is all a part of it, right? Yeah, so this is the book of Hebrews. The book of Hebrews, chapter 10 and verse 1. Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 1. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 1. And it says, and since the law was but a shadow of good things to come, instead of the true form of these realities, it can never, by the same sacrifices that they continually offer every year, make perfect those who draw near. Right? You know what they were doing? Otherwise, would they have ceased to be offered, since the worshippers, having once been cleansed, would no longer have any conscience of sins. But in these sacrifices, there was a reminder of sins every year. Why do you think after they killed Korah, then the rest of the people started rising up? Because the demon's still there. You think because Korah then went down to Sheol, you think the demons ain't still? Them demons rose back up. Gates of Sheol rose right back up inside of everybody, and everybody started getting erratic. That's what happens. So please don't be thinking, oh, something happened, but then you think it's gone. It ain't gone. Yahuwah's hand is still stretched out still, because you already know. Otherwise, verse 2, otherwise would they have ceased to be offered, since the worshippers, having been once cleansed, would no longer have any consciousness of sins. But in these sacrifices, there is a reminder of sins every year, for it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sin. Consequently, when Mashiach came into the world, he said, sacrifices and offering you did not desire, but a body you have prepared for me. In burnt offerings and sin offerings you have taken no pleasure. Then I said, behold, I come to do your will, O Elohim. It is written in the scroll of the book. When he said above, you have neither desired nor taken pleasure in sacrificing and offerings and burnt offerings and sin offerings. These are offered according to the law. Then he added, behold, I have come to do your will. He does away with the first to establish the second. Why do you think he told Mashah? He said, you said Jehovah Mashah. He said, I come in my father's name, and you don't even believe the man whom he sent. I'm just like Mashah. Why do you think Mashah? He told Mashah, you're not going in. He took away the first to establish the second. He took away the first Adam to establish the second Adam. And by that will we have been sacrificed through the offering of the body of Mashiach once for all. So that's it. It wasn't no incense burning and be like, yeah, we're going to stop the plague. It wasn't none of that. It's over with. Verse 11, every priest stands daily at his service, offering repeatedly the same sacrifices, which can never take away sin. That stuff ain't going to do nothing. You can offer 1,000, you go get you 1,000 sticks of incense. You get 1,000 sticks, right? You get 1,000 sheep and goat. Matter of fact, you get 1,000 lambs. And you can offer it over and over again. Matter of fact, you can get $1 million and go and build you a temple and offer as many sacrifices for sin all you want. That stuff ain't gonna take away no sin. It ain't. You can go build it. You can do all that. You can sign a petition and go do it too. It ain't gonna work because Yahushua already offered it. He said, man. But when Mashiach had offered for all time a single sacrifice for sin, he sat down at the right hand of Elohim, waiting from that time until his enemies should be put a footstool for his feet, his regard. That's why the woman was at his feet in the house. And Martha, he said, Martha, Martha, you troubled about so many things. But this woman chose that which will never be taken away from her. He said, man, y'all worried about, that's what Mashal and them and all them were. Y'all, you see how they were fighting and stuff? Korah and all them. And Mashal got to do all these things and offering. He's like, man, y'all worried about so many things, man. You see all the stuff they worried about? Being that they worried about all that, that's why they got all them fighting, right? That's why they got to do all this. And then Yahushua got to come fulfill it all. And put Kaf and say, Kaf, upon this rock build my congregation. And they ain't going to prevail. It's the same thing. You worried about the wrong thing. He gave 12 Shalakim to be over the 12 tribes, Yasharal and the Goyim, they're going to be over. Why everybody trying to rise against them? That makes no sense. They already done did it. But when Mashiach had offered for all things a single sacrifice for sin, he sat down at the right hand of Elohim, waiting from that time until his enemies should be put under his footstool of his feet. For by a single offering he has perfected for all time those who were being sanctified. When the Mashiach just offering incense to sanctify people, stop the play. But he did that already. If you believe it. If not, you're just going to continue to do the same thing over and over again. And again. And because that flesh, boy, that thing ain't no joke. You keep playing with it, that thing ain't no joke. You're going to keep doing it over and over again. That thing ain't. There's a reason why Yahushua struggled in the flesh. He said, man, he was tempted in all facets, but without sin. I'm sure he was sweating. He's had the same thing Yusuf had between his legs, boy. The fire was kindled in his bosom. Everything happened that you happened, right? Yahushua had to go through all that too. So please don't be thinking like, oh yeah, he was just loving and nothing happened in between his legs or his arms or his body and nothing, his hair stood up. Nothing happened. Yeah, a woman touched him on his shoulders and nothing happened. Yeah, that's your foolishness, right? You know, that's that super spiritual stuff, right? You know, good and well he had that flesh on his body, right? For by a single offering he had perfected for all time those who are being sanctified. And Qahalath Ruach also bears witness to us, for after saying, this is the covenant that I will make with them in those days, says Yahuwah of hosts, I will put my Torah in their hearts and put it in their minds. Who wrote that? Jeremiah chapter 31. You don't need it. If you know the Torah, Shaul said, I speak to them who know the law. He said, you should know it. He wrote that. Some say that you are Yirmiyahu. What do you think Yahushua was saying to them? It's going to come to pass. I'm going to write this Torah in your heart and put it in your mind. Some say you Yirmiyahu. Then he adds, I will remember their sin and their lawless deeds no more. He said the fountain is going to be opened up to the house of Yasharal for sin and uncleanness. Who wrote that? It ain't Korah's fountain, because you know he had Dathan, right? When you talking about Dathan's fountain, Zechariah wrote that there's going to be a fountain open to the house of Yehuda for sin and uncleanness. You're going to remember their sin no more. Why do you think they pierced Yahushua in the side? All came blood and water. It says, where there is forgiveness of these, there is no longer any offering for sin. Huh? So what you still doing it for? Oh, I guess you don't believe it. Who has believed what he has heard? Who has believed our report? And what he has heard from us. Right? Verse 19, therefore, brothers, since we have confidence to enter the Qahalath's place by the blood of Yahushua Mashiach, by the new and living way that opened for us through the curtain that is through his flesh. Because you know your flesh is a covering over your inward man, your Qahalath Kodashim. You know, the place where the innermost parts of yourself, where the Aaron's bride, that Aharon's bride, that budded, the incense, the 10 commandments, the cherubim on the left and the right with the mercy seat, where Yahuwah sit above the mercy seat and the innermost parts of yourself. No matter if you 5'2", 5'3", 6'5", 7'9", 8 foot, you still got the same Kodashim in the same place where everybody make their offering and appear before Yahuwah's throne, because it ain't changed. You would say, I'm Yahuwah, I changed not. Why do you think he told Shalom to build it that way? On earth as in Shamayim. It says, and since we have a great priest over the house of Elohim, man, he a great priest. Let us draw near. Oh, let us come near. Let's come near. We ain't coming nowhere near you. You know how they said. Let us draw near with a true heart of full assurance of Amunah, with our hearts sprinkled with clean from an evil conscience, and our bodies washed with pure water. That's why Shaul said, he said, in hearing I exercise myself to have a conscience void of offense toward Yahuwah and towards men. That's how you know you have a pure conscience. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promises is faithful. And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works. Not crazy rebellion and want to fight, quarrel, come to the altar, you burn incense, kill a bunch of people, throw you in Sheol. You got to get out of Sheol. Now you got to repent, do all these things. Now you want to rise up again. Then that plague break out. Man, he said that's not, you're provoking people to, you're provoking Yahuwah to do stuff to you. That's all you're doing. You ain't doing nothing great. Man, we're great. We're provoking people to do stuff that's opposite of love and good works. That's absolutely insane. You're insane. Now you say demoniac. They call it demoniacs in some of these translations. Right? Demoniacs. Verse 25, not neglecting to meet together as the habit of some. Right? What do you mean neglecting to meet? Why? So you could be on the same page. Why? As the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more when you see the day drawing near. Why? You're supposed to keep encouraging people to do love and good works. That's the only reason you're supposed to be meeting together. To encourage people to continue to do love and ahaba and good works. That's the only reason you should be meeting together. You should be meeting together. Let's do somebody evil. Right, let's steal their money. Let's swindle them. Matter of fact, let's act like we prophesied on their life and spy on their life and their thing and tap their phones and then give a prophecy and then collect some money just so they can give me some. That's evil. Let's join together with one person that we may shed innocent blood. That's evil. That's what you're meeting together for? Let's meet together so we can slander and gossip about somebody and make up false accusations and do all these things on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. That's what you're meeting together for? That's not good works in Ahaba. That's evil. He said, man, that's like Mashah. He said, have nothing to do with that congregation. That's why he said, man, I don't want nothing to do with it. You take that stuff back where you came from. I don't want nothing to do with it. Don't even invite me. He said, right? Because you know what that means. You're going to plague your behind. And you're going to get thrown into Sheol, right? It's big, too. Matter of fact, Sheol is infinite. It's beyond measure. It ain't even got no, it's an endless realm of place. You could throw the whole, man, it's so big, you can't even comprehend it. It's like your body, when a fat person eat a whole bunch of hot dog, or a skinny person eat a bunch of food, and he be like, where'd it go? And they don't even show on their body. It's in there. But it's just, you be like, man, all that's inside of you, it don't even look like your stomach moved. The world is more vaster than you know. That's why the earth got Sheol inside. You don't know how big it is. You be like, man, this thing huge. The same way your body got it. You could throw a whole bunch of stuff in your body. You be like, man, how can I eat acid and cash and oil and drink it all my life and still nothing happened to me? Man, you got no idea. Man, I ate all types of stuff. Man, I'm still alive. He's like, man, look at you. Your life getting cut short, but still. But encouraging one another as the more you see the day approaching. For if we go on sinning deliberately, So if you do this after this is over with, if you go on sinning deliberately, as you receive the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains any sacrifice for sin. Yahushua already did one sacrifice for every single thing that you read in Torah. You know that, right? People say, that's everything you read about in Torah, Yahushua already did and bore the sin, and he already did everything he's supposed to do. And he already did that for the sins of the world, for the Goyim, Yasharal, first the Yasharal, the 12 tribes first, then for the world, the nations, that's the people who joined the Yasharal, and then for the rest of the world. He did that for every single person with one sacrifice. He fulfilled everything in Judges. Even the people that was out of king, they had no king. Everybody did what was right in their own eyes. He fulfilled that too. So he did all that with one sacrifice and all that offering he did. So if you do all this after he done did all of this, for if we go on sinning deliberately after we receive the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice of sins, but a fearful expectation of judgment. That's why, and when you know it's coming, you need to hit the ground like Mashah. When people start doing stuff, you just need to hit the ground. Mashal already knew. It's coming. It might come real quick too. Especially if you know. You know how people say, I know. Oh, you do? No, I know. I said, you know for real? Then you should know when you do something wrong, you already know he coming. He could do it. He could do it at the very same second. If you know. I know. Okay. But a fear or expectation of judgment. So if you ain't getting judgment, then I guess you don't believe the Torah then. Because you should expect judgment and believe the Torah. Like Dawid did when he sinned. Perhaps Yahuwah will spare the child, even though he said, I'm going to kill the child. Perhaps Yahuwah might spare you after he said, I'm going to open the ground up. Perhaps the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. Perhaps. No. But in fear, expectation of judgment, fury of the fire which consumes the adversaries. What happened to them? He sent fire and destroyed 250 men of Korah, Abiram, Dathan, and On, and all their fathers' lineages, and every single name they represented. He don't care. I don't care if you got no fountain and no shining oil and all that stuff, and you bald headed and you think you all that, and you got all this shining oil and you from Louis and all this stuff. You who don't care about that stuff. I don't care if you got no fountain. Your name mean fountain, and your name mean wealth. Itzar and all this stuff. Exalted father, my father exalted Abiram, right? You who don't care about that stuff. People be thinking, man, you do not care about that stuff. Right? And anyone who sets aside the law of Mashal dies without mercy on the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. How much more punishment do you think you will be deserved by the one who has trampled under the son of Elohim and has profaned the blood of the covenant by which he has sacrificed and has outraged the Ruach of Khan? Oh my goodness, right? For we know who said, vengeance is mine, I will repay. And again, so you know this. That's why people say, I study the Torah every day, so you know. Yahuwah will judge his people. You see what he just did? It is a fearful thing to fall into the hand of the living. Oh, his hand, for all this, his yard is still stretched out still. You got to get a 10 to know about his hand. That's the only way you're going to fear him. His hand holds the whole Kima galaxy in his hand. The whole Orion. He could break the bands of Orion. He can move Mazra. He moves the constellation with his yard. His hand is stretched out still to this day. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hand of living Elohim. He said that's why you need to fear. But recall the former days when after you were enlightened, you endured hard struggle with suffering. Sometimes being publicly exposed to reproach and affliction, right? Nobody want to do that, but guess what? It happens. And sometimes being partners with those so treated. For you had compassion on those in prison, and you joyfully accepted the plundering of your poverty, your property, since you knew that you yourselves had a better possessions and an abiding one. Why? Because you're not fearful when you start to see these things happen. Therefore, do not throw away your confidence, which has a great reward. So we already know that things are going to be taken away. We already know the trials and tribulations are going to come, but he said, I ain't throwing away that, though. I ain't no fool. I don't care what. You did all this other stuff. He's like, I already know what you're doing, but you ain't finna get me to throw this away. I already know his yard is still stretched out. And his hand is stretched out still against every single thing on earth. For you have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of Yahuwah Elohim, you will receive what is promised. That's what Korah and them didn't do. We ain't got the vineyard. You brought us out here to die. We didn't even get what you said. We done lost everything. You brought us out here to die in the wilderness, right? Because they didn't have no endurance. So when you have done the will of Elohim, you will receive what is promised. They didn't get the promise because they were still complaining about what they didn't get yet. So therefore, they were going through all those things. He said, man, the whole congregation is Qahalath. When we going to get what we going to get? When we going to get what we going to get? The whole thing, Qahalath, man, we already done did this thing, man. We need to get this thing now, right? You were like, man, this is an endurance race. This thing, you ain't finna get the promise that quick. Right? For yet a little while, and the coming one will come and will not delay. I assure you, when he came there, he said, man, the plague broke out immediately, right? I assure you, when he comes, you're gonna know. He's gonna happen so fast, because he's quick and powerful. But my righteous one shall live by Amunah. And if he shrinks back, my soul has taken no pleasure in him. You know what shrinking back is? That's hitting the ground. That's how you know your offering. He said, Yahuwah, don't accept their offering. And you get thrown in the shield. And you got to confess your sins to come out of shield because you shrunk back. You feel your Amunah fell because you start believing that you're going to get what was promised. And that's what happens. But it's still, Yahuwah is still in their compassion and mercy, right? Verse 39, but we are not as those who shrink back. He said, but we ain't the type of people who do that and are destroyed. We're not those type of people who get thrown like that. But those who have Amunah and preserve their souls, right? That's what happens. Right, this is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28:45. All these Qahalath curses shall come upon you and pursue you and overtake you till you are destroyed. Because you did not obey the voice of Yahuwah, your Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes he commanded you. They shall be a sign and a wonder against you and your offspring forever. That's what happened to them. They had actually saw all these things and they said, this is a sign in all Yasharal. Right? Because that's all a part of it. Takath, right? Ayshr, right? Right? Shall come upon you. It says, a Badath, right? Yahuwah, Aliyah Shimka, right? Ta'u Labab. Your actions was not joyful and gladness for the abundance of things, right? Even though Yahuwah gave them all of this, the things with Korah, their actions, their Labab was not Ta'u, good, and they didn't have no joy anymore. What were they doing? They were firing off at people. And everybody rising up, doing things they should not do. Right? And that's what people do with Yahushua Mashiach. That's why he said, we was reading, he said, when you lose all these things, he said, but you have full Amunah though. You don't throw away your hope though. This is the whole point. Verse 48, therefore you shall serve your enemies, of whom, 48, therefore you shall serve your enemies, whom Yahuwah will send against you in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and lacking everything. And he will put a yoke of iron on your neck until you are destroyed. He has destroyed you. Because they're not going to have no mercy on you. Yahuwah will bring a nation against you from far away, from the end of the earth, swooping down like an eagle. Man, you rail at you. You know how eagles swoop down like Nabal. A nation whose language you do not understand. A hard-faced nation that shall not respect old or show mercy to the young. And he said, man, they didn't respect nobody. So being that they didn't respect Mashah and all the things that they had, you see what happened to them? Eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, rail for rail. They households too. So the leader of the households can't do that. If you do that, then the whole household suffers. Women and children. And they all go to Sheol. That's why he told Noah, you and everybody with you shall be saved. Build yourself an ark. For you only have I found righteous. And that's how it works. Right? And it says right here, right? So it says Gui Az, right? It says this is verse 50. A hard-faced panim, that hard-faced panim, Ayshr, right? All these things, he says, this hard-faced nation shall have no respect for the old, right? That's the kin and the R. The kin and the R. Shall no respect for the old or the young. He said, man, they ain't gonna never do nothing, right? Right? Paniim, right? They won't respect the face of the old or the young, right? All that's a part of it. Verse 51, and it shall eat the offspring of your cattle and the fruit of your ground until you are destroyed. And it shall not leave your grain, wine, or oil, the increase of your herds or the young of your flocks until they have caused you to perish. And all this takes place, right? And you see what happened to Korah and all those people. Because it's all a part of it, right? That word for because it's takath, it means to be under, beneath, instead. Humble yourselves under Yahuwah, right? Under, beneath, subjection. It means woman, who is under one in the place who stands, because it's underneath, beneath, right? That's what they were supposed to be, right? They say they hard-faced nation. That word for hard is odd. They're strong, fierce, vehement, mighty, fierce, greedy, right? There we go. They had all that money, right? One of their names for Korah meant they were raging, roughly, right? They all came. They ain't had no type of understanding, right? But all this is important, right? This is Zechariah 8:9. This is what Yahuwah Elohim says. Now hear these words. Let your hands be strong so that the temple may be built. This is also what the Nabi'im said, who were present when the foundation was laid in the house of Yahuwah Almighty. Before the time, there was no wages for the people or hire for the animals. No one could go about their business safely because of their enemies, since I have turned everyone against their neighbor. Who do you think they did that with? Mashah and Korah and all that stuff. He said, I did it. I wound, I kill, I make alive. I make peace, I create shalom. I do all these things. But now I will deal with the remnant of this people. I will not deal with the remnant of this people as I did in the past, declares Yahuwah Almighty, right? So you look at the things that people do today. That's why I said, when you get thrown in Sheol, you have the opportunity to come out of Sheol. If you do it. You do. People say you don't. Yeah, you do. They lying to you. Verse 12. The seed will grow well, the vine will yield its fruit, the ground will produce its crops, and the Shamayim will drop their dew. And I will give all these things as an inheritance to the remnant of this people. Just as you, Yehuda Yasharal, have been a curse among the nations, so I will save you, and you will be a Barak. Do not be afraid, but let your hands be strong. Right? Yad and Ka. This is what Yahuwah Almighty says. Just as I have determined to bring disaster on you and show no pity when your ancestors angered me. Did he do that? He was not playing. Says Yahuwah Almighty. So now I have determined to do good again to Jerusalem and Yehuda. Do not be afraid. These are the things you are to do. Speak truth to each other and render true sound judgment in your courts. Right? That's what people need to do. You need to speak truth and render true judgment. Do not plot evil against each other, right? That's what people do all the time, right? He says, and do not love to swear falsely. Why? I hate this, declares Yahuwah. Why? He said, I hate it. Right? He said, I hate it, right? This is the book of 1 Corinthians. I think it is. You go to Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 23. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 23. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 23. Verse 22. Actually, verse 21. Ephesians 4:21. Assuming that you have heard about him, Ephesians 4:21, and were taught in him, as the truth is in Yahusha, to put off the old self, which belongs to the former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful desires. Right? You gotta put that stuff away. And be renewed in the ruach of your mind, your nous, your minds. Of course, you know that nous, leach nous. Right? That's what they talk about when Mashah's leach nous, his natural force was not abated. And put on a new self, created after the likeness of Elohim in true righteousness and Qahalath. Man, the whole congregation Qahalath, right? You know, man, we already made it. Right? You know, he say, no, it ain't that way. Therefore, having put away falsehood, lying, right? Let each one of you speak truth to his neighbor. What do you think he said? I'm not going to do the same thing I did before. You all need to speak truth to your neighbor. For we are members one of another. And you need to offer what? Sound judgment in your courts, and do not plot evil against one another, and do not love to swear falsely. For I hate these things. For we are members one of another. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down your anger. What if Yahuwah let his anger go down when the sun went down? That's it. Because the day of Yahuwah is a day of darkness and no light. So think about if Yahuwah allowed his anger to go down right now when the sun going down, and he allowed him to keep his anger, what do you think gonna happen to us? That's it. The day of Yahuwah is a day of darkness and no light. We dead. So you should be glad that Yahuwah deferring his anger right now as the sun going down. And give no opportunity for Satan. That's the only reason he do it. I don't want Satan to be coming out here saying stuff about me. You ain't fulfilled what you said. You a liar. You a liar, Yahuwah. You a liar, Yahuwah. You said you going to redeem them, not corruptible things, silver and gold, precious blood. You a liar, Yahuwah. That's what he going to tell him. He's like, that's Satan. I got to let my anger go away now. My hand is still stretched out tomorrow morning when the bakar, when the sun goes up. But right now, because Satan right there ready to accuse you. You a liar. Right? You said this. You vowed it. You can't be a liar. That's what your words say, right? That's how your word is, right? You know what it says? Give no opportunity for Satan. Let the thief no longer steal, but let him labor in doing honest work with his own hands. That's why he told us, let the hands be strong and build the temple. Do your part, so that he may have something to share with anyone in need. Because you're supposed to provoke each other to ahava in good works. Let no corrupt talk come out of your mouth. You see all that stuff they were talking. Keep your mouth closed. But only such is good for building up. Let your yard and your car be strong and build the temple. As it fits the occasion, that it may give con to those who hear, and do not grieve the Qahalath Ruach of Elohim, by whom you are sealed to the day of redemption. And let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you with all malice. Be kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, as Elohim in Mashiach forgave you, right? Because he hate all the other stuff we be doing, right? So that word for curse is Qahalath. It means vilification, curse. Though you have been a curse among the nations, he said, you won't be no curse no more, right? So vilification, the act of saying and writing unpleasant things about somebody or something so that other people may have a low opinion of them. That's what they did to Yashral and Yehuda throughout the world. That's what they do. And that's what they have done, right? But it's good to be lowly, right? It's good to be the underneath. We ain't no dog. We ain't no underdog. He said we ain't no dogs, right? We just at the bottom. This second Shani Shemuel 16:5. 5 through 14. We're going to skip over something. When Dawid came to Baharim, there came a man out of the family of the house of Saul, whose name was Shimei, the son of Gerah, and as he came, he cursed continually. You know what Korah did? The same thing. And he threw stones at Dawid and at his servants of the king Dawid, and the people and all the mighty men were at the right and on the left, on right hand on his left. Didn't Mashal stand in the midst of the people when the plagues came out? He stood in the middle of the dead and the living. And then what he did? Now why Yahushua was in between two thieves, right? And Shammai said as he cursed, get out, you man of blood, you worthless man. Yahuwah has avenged on you all the blood of the house of Shaul, in whose place you have reigned. And Yahuwah has given me the kingdom into the hand of your son Absalom. See, your eye evil is on you, for you are a man of blood. Man, look at you. You killed those people. You know how he said to Michelle, you killed those people, right? You show. That's a false accusation. I ain't killed nobody, right? You know how he said. He said, man. Then Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, said to the king, why should this dead dog curse my master, the king? Let me go over and take off his head. But the king said, what have I to do with you, sons of Zeruiah? And if he's cursing, it's because Yahuwah has said to him, curse Kolal Dawid. Who then shall say, why have you done so? And Dawid said to Abishai and to all his servants, behold, my own son seeks my life. How much more may this Benjamite? Leave him alone and let him curse. For Yahuwah has told him to curse Kulal, for Yahuwah has told him to. It may be that Yahuwah will look on the wrong done to me, and that Yahuwah will repay me good for the cursing Qahalath today. So Dawid and his men went on the road, while Shammai went along in the hillside opposite him and cursed as he went, and threw stones at him and flung dust. The king and all the people who were with him arrived weary at Yarden, and they were refreshed himself, right? This is Psalm 62, 1 through 8. And Elohim, and it says, for Yahuwah Elohim alone my soul waits in silence. From him comes my salvation. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress, and I shall not be greatly shaken. How long will you attack the man and batter him like a leaning wall and a tottering fence? They only plan to thrust him down from his high position. That's what Korah and them wanted to do. They want to take Yahushua Mashiach down. And they took pleasure in falsehood. That's what they were doing. They barak with their mouths, but inwardly they curse. And that's what happened to them. Right, that's verse 4, right? That's what I want to be skipping over. Going to, the word for inwardly is kareb. He says the innermost parts, inner being, the physical sense, your thoughts and emotions. That's what they were doing. That's what they were doing. They were cursing them with their thoughts and their emotions. And those thoughts and emotions brought them to what? Destruction, right? That's what happens. Right, so this Shani Shemuel, chapter 23, skipping on to verse 4. So we always go here, 23 and 4. He dawns on them like going to verse 3. And the Elohim of Yashral has spoken. The rock of Yashral said to me, that's what he told Kaf, upon this rock I'm going to build my congregation. When one rules justly over men, ruling in the fear of Elohim, that's what Mashah was doing. He dawns on them like the morning light, like the sun shining forth on a cloudless morning, like rain that makes grass to sprout from the earth. For does not my house stand so with Elohim? For he has made with me an everlasting covenant, ordered in all things secure. For will he not cause to prosper all my help and my desire? But worthless men are like thorns that are thrown away. That's why Yahuwah threw them in the Sheol, because they were worthless men. For they cannot be taken by the hand, but the man who touches them arms himself with iron and a shaft and a spear, and they are utterly consumed with fire. And that's what happened to them when he consumed 250 men that were burning incense, and he burned them up with fire. Right? Because they were like thorns. That's what he told Adam. Thorns and thistles is going to yield you. Right, so that word for shining is zarak. It means to shine. He breaks out like the light, rising up. You know what Korah did? They rose up, but he said when Yahuwah rose up, they were vaporized or eradicated. They were eradicated because Yahuwah was actually the leader. They just ain't know it. They were eradicated, right? And this is a part of it. Right, this is 1 Thessalonians 5 in verse, you go to 17, 5:17. Pray without ceasing. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of Yahuwah in Mashiach Yahushua for you. Do not quench the Ruach, and do not despise prophecies, but testing everything, hold fast to what is good. Abstain from every form of evil. Every single form of evil. Why? Because that's all part of it. Abstain from it, right? This is James 4, 8 through 10. Draw near to Elohim, and what everybody did. Everybody did draw near to him. Are we blind also? If you were blind, you have no guilt. But being that you say you see, your guilt remains. And he will draw near to you. And guess what? He drew near to them too. He said, everybody come near. Light your incense in your little fire. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Be wretched and mourn and weep. That's how you're going to get out of Sheol. How do you think you're going to get out of Sheol? Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy, your simcha, to gloom. Humble yourselves before Yahuwah, and he will exalt you. That's what they had to do. That's all they had to do. This First Peter 5, 1 through this 1 Peter. I don't know what's that. I got to see that. This 1 Peter, right? 1, right? I think that changed that. 1 Peter 1. So I exhort the elders among you as fellow elders and witness of the suffering of Mashiach, as well as partakers of the kabod that is going to be revealed. Shepherd the flock of Elohim that is among you, exercise oversight under not in compulsion but willingly, as Elohim will have you, not with shameful gain but eagerly, not domineering over those in charge, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive an unfading crown of kabod. Likewise, You who are younger, be subject to the elders. Clothe yourself with all humility toward one another. For Elohim opposes the proud, but gives calm to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty yad of Yahuwah, because his hand is stretched out still. Still, today. The mighty hand of Yahuwah, so that at the proper time he may exalt you. Cast all your anxieties on him, because he cares for you. That's what Korah and them do. We a whole congregation could do. You still ain't get the land we got. We still ain't get the stuff we supposed to get. That's what people be saying to Yahuwah. We still ain't get the stuff. We still ain't get what was promised to us. We still haven't gotten it. These are all anxieties. You know, the flesh, the part of ourselves that we want things now. Right? You know how it is. Right? That's what happens. This is Philippians 2, 1 through 11. So if there's any encouragement in the Mashiach, any comfort for love, any participation in the Ruach, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being full accord of one mind. Do nothing of selfish ambitions or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than themselves. Notice how Mishah didn't count himself more significant than them. He hit the ground. He said, then you let Yahuwah do it. Then. Let each one of you look not on his own interests, but also on the interests of others. Having this mind among yourselves, which is the Mashiach Yahushua, who though was in the form of Elohim, did not count equality with Yahuwah a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself, but taking on the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, he humbled himself, being obedient to the point of death, even the death of the cross. Therefore, Yahuwah has highly exalted him, and bestowed him among a name that's above every name. So at the name of Yahushua, every knee should bow, and in Shamayim in the earth, and every tongue shall confess that Yahushua Mashiach is Yahuwah, or you say is master, to the kabod of Yahuwah the Father. Wow, that's all important, right? So it's the 11th month, it's Kaf or Kefa. So he said, upon this rock I'm going to build my church, build my congregation, and the gates of Sheol shall not prevail against it. Ever. He said, it's the 11th month. He said, it means palm leaf, productivity, fruitfulness, teaching, reproducing, hand, powerful handful, hollow rock, to open. That's what his name is. He said, upon this rock, I'm going to build my congregation. Why? He said, why would I build it any other way? He said, why would I build it in the sand? This is Rock 3, 17 through 23. My son and daughter, go on thy business in meekness. Knew. Like Mashah. He was the most meekest man on earth. When you see all these things rising up, you need to hit the ground. No need to argue and quarrel. What y'all doing this for? What y'all come? Why everybody doing this? What's going on? No, you just need to hit the ground. That's how you solve all the problems. Show the humility to Yahuwah, because Yahuwah watching everybody. His hand is stretched out still. So should thou be beloved of him that is approved. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself. Knew. Anah, Sanah, Anua, Anah. And thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah. Many are in high places of renown, but mysteries are revealed unto the meek, the Knew. For the power of Yahuwah is great and honored with the lowly. Why do you think he was honored with Mashiach? Why do you think he was honored with him? Why do you think they were honored with Yahushua Mashiach? He said, I ain't take nothing from these people. Y'all came at me like I'm a thief. I ain't take nothing from you. And then the person that cut off his ear, and I put the ear back on. Because I come to seek, I ain't come to seek honor from one another. I came to seek the honor that comes from Yahuwah himself. I ain't do nothing to y'all. The power of Yahuwah is great, honor with the lowly. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search for things that are above thy strength. That's what Korah and them were doing. They were search, man, you way above your pay grade. No, this, you done crossed the line. You done crossed the line. Qurach. But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence, for it is not needful to see with our eyes the things that are in secret. Be not curious in unnecessary matters, for more things are showed unto thee than men, women, and children, and Malachi, and even Mashah. Even Kaf didn't even understand until Yahushua died, rose, and ascended, and they gave him the Ruach. Right? So we look at all that. We look at Yahushua Mashiach. We look at the light of life. We look at the love that he's given and extended to us with his Kaf, with his yard and his Kaf. And even as his hand is stretched out still, guess what? You should be thankful that his hand is still stretched out still. And it's not moving away. Why? Because if it moves away, then that's the end. Right? So we look at all these things and the punishments and the things he gives, and and the things he returns. The only way to get out of Sheol is to repent. And he said, remember where you were fallen and repent and do your first works over, because you in Sheol. And the only way to get out and cross the other side, you have to confess your sin and say, Yahuwah, have mercy on me, a sinner. For he said, all the times you forgot to come before the sons of Yasharal, he said, you found that written as a transgression in your manuscript. All the times you didn't do the things that good works and good deeds, it's written in your manuscript. And all the times you didn't pray Palal at the times appointed, it's written in your manuscript. So as you look at your life, you look at ourselves and our patterns of behavior as Kahan and Kahanim, offering up a sacrifice of praise as the fruit of our lips continually. As people of royal priesthood, one needs to walk in righteousness in all things after the order of Malak Sadiq, after the order of Melchizedek. Knowing that walking according to the ancient order of the priesthood that was over Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and their families, you'll understand what it's like to walk. Even as Louis was still in the loins of Abraham, there was a priesthood that existed before, and knowing that priesthood there existed, and there wasn't, he say, sacrifices what people would do as they would destroy Yahuwah's creatures. Right? It was a body that he prepared for them. Right? It was belief. It was amunah. It was things that one had to do for themselves, even as the household fathers had to do for their households, to show forth the righteous love of Yahuwah through amunah, through belief, and hearing his voice and not hardening their heart. So look at all the things that happen and everything that's going to happen in the earth. For all things happen is for a reason. For Yahuwah gives and Yahuwah takes away. Yahuwah restores. Yahuwah wounds, he kills, he makes alive. He creates shalom in your life and creates the peace that you have. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The Anu shall inherit the Eretz.